So to give you a little bit of background information about me, your session host, I have been a speech language pathologist for over 11 years, and I switched to start my own business as the CEO of the Resource Key, which solely focused on inclusive and accessible marketing. And my journey really started after listening to all of the children and adults that I worked with over the years, as well as observing and how each individual felt like they were not included in the community, as well as I observed that with a lot of different children and adults that I worked with different disabilities. Marketing, I feel like, has a huge impact on how we perceive things, and that is why I founded the Resource Key to really change the narrative surrounding how people view people with disabilities, as well as ensuring inclusion and accessibility in marketing. So, fun fact, I've worked across 7 different industries over the years, ranging from hospitality to the funeral home industry. And through those different experiences working in different industries, I feel that a lot of my perspective in just how I view the world, and even from a business perspective, has helped me to continue to grow and also utilize my experience in those different industries to contribute to my business. I have aphantasia, which, if you're not familiar with it, I am not able, when I close my eyes, if you say to visualize a horse running, I'm not able to bring those pictures up to be able to visualize that. So that's the best way to be able to explain that. A lot of people are able to close their eyes and visualize. So they really, when anyone references aphantasia, a lot of times the definition would be image-free thinking. So I'm not able to create pictures of familiar objects, people, or places in my mind's eye. So like when I close my eyes, I'm not able to bring up a picture of something. I would definitely say I'm a program builder. I love to build things, and so I think that carries over into a lot of the work that I do as well over the years, and also at the Resource Key. All right, so here pictured on the screen are 2 different images. So one is a picture of a single key, and the other picture is a picture of multiple keys. And I love these 2 different images because it really describes how I view accessibility. A lot of times we think that accessibility would be from one angle. So if I am able to get this, then everything will be accessible. And I would say my perspective was like that based off of when I was doing direct speech therapy. A lot of times, depending on the individual that I was working with, I would think from more of a single-minded perspective. So from the one key, where, all right, if this person has these types of accommodation supports, then that's it, and they may not need anything else. And that's not how it is in reality. So really just stepping outside of the therapy room has allowed me to shift my perspective as well, and to see how many different keys. That's why I love the image of the mailbox keys, and some of the mailboxes are closed, some of them are open with the different keys, because I really think accessibility is ongoing. There's so many different layers of accessibility and so many different aspects and so many different types of disabilities, and no one disability presents exactly like the other. And I think that's the same for accessibility. Even though you may implement one area of accessibility into your business, if you go into maybe a different industry, you may have to adapt, or it may look a lot different. So these are the keys. I like to call them. All right, so the inclusive keys. So now we're at the image with the multiple keys hanging from the different mailboxes. So the 4 areas that I always like to look at when I think of the inclusive keys are alignment is number 1, number 2 is access, number 3 is accountability, and number 4 is attached. So why did I choose those? Well, the first one is alignment. So if you can think of a key, you really need to have it aligned with where you're unlocking in order for the door to open or whatever you're trying to open. So I think of that as well as with accessibility because everything is aligned. So you can go into one area and maybe you can have something be accessible, but in order to truly have accessibility, you really need to embed it in every aspect. So everything needs to be aligned. I like to think of it from a business standpoint. Let's say if you go to a website and the website is accessible, but if someone goes to apply for a job and you send them to a external link for your job application site that maybe use a third-party vendor, and that website's not accessible, then we have a disconnect and your process is not aligned. So that's why I really think alignment is a huge key when we're talking about accessibility because it really equates to how things are aligned. Access, that one goes without saying. In order for you to really ensure all people are included, they need to be able to have access to trainings at work, access to your social media posts. Let's say you're posting a job opportunity on social media and you don't include alternative text. If someone is, let's say, blind and uses an assistive technology, soft screen readers are a form of assistive technology, and they get to an image of your job posting and the alternative text is empty, well, it's going to scan that picture and there's not going to be any information for the person to know what exactly is included in that post. So they're going to miss out and they're not going to have access to that information. So access, really, we have to look at all different components excuse me, in all different areas when it comes to access. The third one is accountability. We really have to be accountable. It's one thing for someone to tell us, all right, you have to do this by the end of the day. But it's another thing for us to take the initiative and take the accountability to say, hey, it is just as much as my job to be able to contribute and ensure that no one's left out, and taking on that accountability in the smallest of ways or the biggest of ways. And the fourth one is attached. So this one a little bit goes back to alignment, but when I think of attached, I think of just it's ongoing. It just reminds me even of accessibility journey that you're always learning and you're always attaching something else to make an experience accessible or a product accessible, whatever it may be. So you're learning and attaching. Nothing's really ever necessarily disconnecting, or you're not really taking something off. Typically, a lot of times with accessibility, or at least in my experience, I've learned something and attached it learned something, attached it. So I continue to attach these different knowledge points to be able to continue my journey, learning and ensuring accessibility in all areas, as well as I think that can go for maybe other areas too. When we think of from a business perspective, your trying to ensure at the end of the day everything is attached with maybe your best practices that you're using, or products, or different areas that may be relevant to your business. All right, so the social media keys that we are going to discuss today, and they are pictured on this slide, are hashtags, image description, alternative text, and color contrast. And by each word on this slide, there's an icon that represents each area of the social media keys that we'll be talking about. So the first one, and I know I mentioned it before, but you also have your outline, and there's some other resources that will be helpful when you're referencing the different areas to further your journey. So for hashtags today, we're going to talk about camel case. And with camel case, when you camel case something, you're capitalizing the first letter of the word in a phrase or sentence without spaces. So it will separate the word when, let's say, the screen reader, which I know I discussed earlier, is a type of assistive technology. So if someone that's using a screen reader, it could be someone that's blind or has low vision, dyslexia. A lot of different individuals may use a screen reader, but if the screen reader you're using it, if someone's using the screen reader and you have hashtags that are all lowercase, it's going to read as a run-on words. So you want to be able to separate that out. So how you do that is by utilizing the camel case for the hashtags. And so that would be capitalizing the first letter of the words in a phrase or sentence. And I'll give you an example of this as well by referencing a post on the Resource Key Mentor Demo Instagram page. So here you can see on the Resource Key Mentor Demo page, so I'm going to, there's the resource key, hashtag is used, and as you can see, everything's lowercase. So if that was the screen reader were to read that, it would all be a run-on. So that's an example of me not using camel case for hashtags. So if I go and click out of here and go to this next post on the demo Instagram page, you'll see the hashtag, the resource key again, but this time the T in the R in resource, and the K in key is capitalized. And so that would be a good example of camel case. So now when the screen reader is reading that aloud to the person that is utilizing the screen reader, it will have everything as separate. So it will read it correctly, the resource key. That's an example of using camel case for hashtags. The next area that we are going to look out for the social media keys are alternative text, also known as alt text. Alt text provides the most important details of a picture. I'll show you in this example. We are on the demo page, and let's click on this post. So if I click on this first post and I click on the 3 dots in the upper right hand corner and I click on edit, accessibility I'm going to click on, and then if this, you can see where you can add the alt text, and keep in mind I'm doing this from a desktop computer, and this is on Instagram. So if There's no alt text. When a screen reader goes to read aloud what is pictured on this photo, the alt text or the alternative text will be read as empty. So the person using the screen reader assistive technology will not be able to know what is pictured on this Instagram post. So it's important. It's been really beneficial so that no one gets left out of your social media to use the alt text and make sure you add it. So this is the area that you would add the alternative text. And like I said, keep in mind I'm using a desktop computer. From your phone, I have on Instagram, I'm pulling it up just so that I can explain as well. So on your phone, if you're accessing Instagram and you look at the picture, there's 3 dots at the top right-hand corner on there, and you can press edit and alternative text. And there's a place where you can type in your alternative text. So I'm going to go to a post that has alternative text. So this post has alternative text, and with the alternative text, I'll click on the 3 buttons, the 3 dots at the top right-hand corner, and here I can see accessibility. I scroll down, and remember, like alternative text, when you type it in, it's usually, if you could summarize the picture, what's happening in the picture, that's the best way to describe it. So for this picture, a person is pouring milk into a mug, preparing a latte with art. So that was the alternative text that I used for this image. And keep in mind, it's a journey with all of this, but just if you get started, it's very helpful because you'll learn different beneficial techniques for writing alternative text along your journey. Great. And then for this image, I have alternative text as well. So if you can think of alternative text, it's like the summary of whatever the photo is representing. So giving, if someone needed a quick summary of what was in the photo, that's what you would want to include in the alternative text or alt text. The next social media key we are going to discuss is image description. And image description, what is the difference? A lot of times people ask between image description and alternative text. So the best way that I always describe it is image description describes the images within your content, but it is a longer description of images and just present it with more detail than alternative text. So if I go to the resource key demo page again on the Instagram, if I click on this image, the same image we used for the coffee mug, the image description I put in brackets. Sometimes you'll also see the image description as ID, as abbreviation. I always write it out just because I always assume that this could be the first time someone interacting with my social media and they may not know what ID means in reference to what my social media page is. So I always like to write out the image description instead of abbreviating it. But some people do ID, and there's nothing wrong with that either because then you have a description after that. The other thing is here I have the whatever I wanted to post, the message, and then I add the image description underneath. So if you have something you want to write prior to putting the image description, then you can do that here. So for this image, I put person holding stainless steel milk frother in the air with one hand pouring froth milk into mug to make latte with art. In the other hand, the person is holding handle of the mug. Behind the mug is a table. So you can hear the image description is a lot longer. The alternative text was just quick overview of what the photo was about. The other thing I want to mention is sometimes if you do not have enough room to put, because since image descriptions are a lot longer, if you don't have enough room to put it in your caption, then you can include it in the comments section. So you may see that a lot of times on social media posts as well, where the image description is included in the comments section on maybe on some of the different platforms. And like I said, you'll continue to learn more and more about different things, but this is just how you get started. I do both alternative text and image description because I never know what a person is utilizing in terms of if they're going to use the alternative text or the image description. So for me, best practice, I always just include both. When you learn more about the different platforms, you'll learn more about how you can add it in different places and how everything is set up. This is the tool that I use to check the color contrast for all my social media posts. And like I said, accessibility is a journey. I don't always check every one now just because I have in mind sometimes what is a good color contrast based off of the different social media posts. All right, so this is called WebAIM, and it's .org. I included it on your outline, so you can just click on the link if you want to play around with the tool later. So here what it has is contrast checker. So the foreground color, the color that's in the front, and it shows you an example here as well. That is the color that I used for the post that was difficult to read. So that was the text color that I used, and then the background color was this purple color. And it will tell you the contrast ratio here underneath those two boxes. For this one, it's 1.28. It tells you the ratio of it, and it will tell you if it passes or fails. And WCAG is the abbreviation that's here, WCAGAA, and that stands for Website Content Accessibility Guidelines. The A's are the conformance success levels. So this is what it's aligned to. So it has WCAG, and then it has the AA and then AAA. And so it's telling you that based off of those website content accessibility guidelines. And so this color contrast, that would be insufficient and it would fail. It has a very low contrast ratio. So now I have the numbers for the other color contrast that I had that was sufficient. So I'll enter those numbers here. So the color in the front for the text was, I'm entering it now, so bear with me. Oops. All right, so that's the first one, and then the background color was all right. So as you can see, this would be the contrast ratio was 8.91 for this one, and it passed. So a lot higher contrast ratio than the previous color, the colors that I had before. And if you're wondering where do you get the color numbers from, so that's a great question. So if it's a post that has already been posted and maybe I want to check the color contrast, I use an app and I have an iPhone called Color Picker AR. It's free, and pretty much you upload the picture and then lock the picture in, and then you can use a cursor to scroll over the colors and it will bring up the color number, and that's what you input in for the background color and the foreground color. And what I like about this too is it shows you how it looks as well for this website tool, right? So that's how you can get the number if you already have maybe posted an image. I will show you in Canva how you can do it. So I'm going to stop sharing and then go into Canva and show you for anyone that creates their own content. All right, so here we are in Canva, and as you can see, I have a demo page up here. So the background is this purplish color, and then the key is a pinkish color. So if I want to change that, then I would click on the color. If I have a background color in mind, I'm going to pull the background color that passed for the contrast checker. So I will copy the background color and I would insert it where it says try blue or number. So you would insert it in the search bar and then paste, right click and paste. And then it will pull up that exact color. So that's what's nice about this tool as well. Now I want to change the foreground color for the key. So I'm going to go back, and you're only seeing the Canva, but I'm copying the color number for the foreground color. And then same thing, I'll paste the color number in. And there we have it. So the background now is a black, and then the foreground color for the key is like a lighter purple. So that's how you do it if you use Canva. And then that's how you would be able to use those numbers that pass the color contrast from the tool that we use to be able to put it into Canva for your post. The next social media keys we will cover are audio description, limited emojis, transcription for videos, and captions for videos. I will provide a demo of audio description on our demo page. So keep in mind throughout this session, feel free to continue to reference back to the Instagram Inclusive Impact Branding. All of the different demos that I reference will be included on the Instagram page. Audio description is when a person is narrating a video's visual element. And I'm going to press play on this video where I am describing what I am doing.
A well-lit office. A woman sits at her desk typing on the computer, drinking her coffee.
That is an example of audio description. The next social media key is limited emojis. Limit how many emojis are used on social media captions. When emojis are present, they will be described by a screen reader. A screen reader is a type of assistive technology. Screen readers will translate exactly what the emoji means and could take away from the messaging. If you use emojis, check the exact meaning of what they translate to in text. Think about if you can still relay your message or content without including emojis. Try not to use emojis in the middle of words or to replace words. We are going to reference to the Inclusive Impact Branding Instagram page, which is the resource key page to reference for any of the demos that are present throughout this session. I want to make a note for all of the different posts. We have unlocked social media keys and then locked social media keys. So if you see a post on the Instagram page and it has unlocked social media keys, that's going to be different things that make that page or that social media inclusive and accessible. So, and if it's locked, then that means different things were left out. So like if alternative text isn't in the post or captions aren't used or there's a lot of emojis, then it's going to say lock social media keys. So that is something to reference as you continue to use the demo pages as well. So for this one, one of the lock keys would be limited emojis were not used. So in this post, it's a picture of snow-covered floor with Christmas trees surrounding a red sign with the text Snow Factory. There are 4 snowflake emojis in the caption, 2 snowman emojis, and 4 cold face emojis. I am going to play an audio clip of how the screen reader would read the emojis that are present on the screen.
Snowflake, 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 snowman, snowman, cold face, cold face, cold face, cold face, edited.
That is how the emojis would be read. If all of these emojis were present, a screen reader would read it as I just played. So that's one of the reasons why it's great to use limited emojis or just so that the screen reader is not reading it multiple times. Another thing that I encourage you to do whenever you have some time is to watch some different videos of how a screen reader is used, as well as demoing some of the different free screen readers that they have as well, so that you can get an idea of the different ways the screen reader is used. Referencing back to the Inclusive Impact Branding Instagram social media page, we can see in this post the unlock social media keys. There are limited emojis in this post. There is 1 snowman emoji, and then it has Winter Wonderland. So this is a great example of utilizing limited emojis for inclusive and accessible social media. On the screen is a tool that I referenced on the outline for this session. This is a tool under emojis. If you are not sure what an emoji exact meaning is, this is a great tool that I use. The nice part about this tool, it's called emojipedia.org. You can search by the meaning, and then search, and then you'll see the emojis that come up. I put the cold face for the emoji that we use for the Instagram post. So as you can see, the different emojis related to cold face show up, or you can search by the actual emoji itself. So you can copy and paste the picture of the emoji and paste it here and search, and it will come up with the emoji meaning. So for this one, it's a cold face, and the emoji meaning, it will tell you an icy blue face with gritted teeth, and then it will have like all of the information. So I wanted to share that tool because it's very helpful sometimes if you're not sure what exactly the emoji is, the exact meaning. The next social media key is transcription for videos. Video transcription provides written text of what is being spoken, speaker identification, and non-speech sounds such as laughing. When audio is present, provide a text description. They're a separate text file outside of the video player. Provide transcripts so that everyone can benefit from them. An example is of a transcription is present on this page. This is a transcript from the Inclusive Starter Key session. There's also, you can see different examples of transcripts on YouTube as well. Keep in mind, something to keep in mind is you will have to go through and edit just because the automated a lot of times doesn't pick up every single word, or it may mistake some of the different words. So you want to keep that in mind when you are doing your different transcripts, or if you have someone do it professionally, it's still better, or manually, because of the fact that the automated transcriptions are not always as accurate. The next social media key is captions for videos. So there are different types of captions. Open captions are when the text is embedded into the video and cannot be turned on or off. Or there are closed captions where the user can turn them on or off. When videos are present, provide captions of the audio so that everyone benefits. On the screen, I am going to show you an example of open captions on this YouTube video. It is a clip from the Inclusive Starter Key session, and this is an example of open captions because the text is already embedded into the video and I cannot turn the captions on or off. Welcome to Inclusive Starter Key session. So today's session, as you can see in that video, the captions were embedded at the bottom of the video and those captions could not be turned on or off. So that's an example of open captions. Also, in this example, you can also see how YouTube provides, this is automated, a transcript. So this is auto-generated, but this is what I was referring to earlier. Example is another YouTube video. It's an example of closed captions. And with closed captions, I can turn the captions on or off. So I will play this clip that talks about the resource key, and I am pictured, and I will show you how you can turn the captions on or off, and this is on a YouTube video.
My name is Jordan Saunders. I am the CEO of the resource team.
All right, so in that clip, you can see how I press the CC at the bottom of the video, which stands for closed captions, and I could turn the captions on, or if I want to turn them off, I would just click on that button again. That is an example of closed captions because I can turn the captions on or off. The next set of social media keys are hashtags and mentions at the end of posts. You can reference some of the unlock social media keys on the Inclusive Impact Branding Instagram demo page to see examples of hashtags and mentions at the end. Those for best practice, usually those are good to ensure inclusion and accessibility within your social media, to have the hashtags, any hashtags you use, and mentioning different other maybe Instagram accounts or mentioning other accounts. You want to include that at the end of your post. Another social media key would be avoiding all capitalized letters. You want to try to avoid all capitalized letters to ensure inclusion and accessibility in your social media posts. The next social media key is animated GIFs, flashing content warning. You want to try to avoid using a lot of flashing content or animated GIFs that last a little bit longer than 5 seconds. If you do have content like this where it's flashing, you want to provide a warning before the content is presented on the screen. Blinking and or flashing lights should be avoided because people with photosensitive epilepsy may have seizures triggered from blinking and or flashing lights. Provide a warning note before flashing starts on any content, like a video that is posted. Animated GIFs should be set to stop after 5 seconds or have the capability for the viewer to pause the animated GIF. And I have included, if you reference your outline for this session, there are a lot of different reference keys that provide even more information that I'm providing if you want to read up further on any of the different social media keys, as well as different tools that may be helpful to when you are ensuring your content is inclusive and accessible. The last set of social media keys that I will cover today are inclusive storytelling. Inclusive storytelling is ensuring authentic storytelling is reflected in your social media content. Include lived experiences and diverse storytelling within your content. Inclusive photos. This is a really important one as well that is very beneficial when you're ensuring inclusion and accessibility in your social media. I have included, there's been a list that's compiled, and you can see this on your reference keys under inclusive photos. Over 40 different stock photo resources that are on your outline. And some are free and some are paid. I did not include which ones are free or paid because sometimes it changes. So you would have to go through and determine which ones are free or paid. But this is a pretty comprehensive resource of different stock photos that are inclusive. The next social media key is inclusive language. Inclusive language. We can think of plain language. There are a lot of reference keys to guide you through different things for plain language. Avoiding technical language or language that is difficult to understand. When writing, make information as clear and concise where as many people as possible can understand the information. And then there are a few different reference keys to be able to reference when you are posting on your social media as well. As we get ready to close out, I wanted to reference a bonus resource that is included with this investment session. It is a social media reference list. And I know we may have talked about this earlier on in the session. It's not a checklist. I don't like to use checklists because accessibility is ongoing. This is a reference list of all the different social media areas that were covered throughout this session. It has 3 different categories. So it has the social media area, status. So if you are doing a post, you can go through this reference list and say, hey, do I have hashtags with camel case? The status has either complete, not applicable, or needs to be completed. And then it also has a notes section if you want to add some notes. So this is really nice just because it's condensed and it has all of the different areas that we discussed, as well as I'm sure there will be other areas to add as you continue on your journey. The not applicable, that would be if, let's say, you didn't use any flashing content warning, you would just click not applicable. And the last area for the status update is needs to complete. A key quote that I love, that I always continue referencing back, especially as I consider my own accessibility journey, is a quote by Kat Holmes, and it reads, an exclusion habit is the belief that whoever starts the game also sets the rules of the game. We think we don't have power to change a game, so we abdicate our accountability. We keep repeating the same behaviors over and over. And this is an excerpt from Mismatch by Kat Holmes. This is a wonderful quote as you continue on your accessibility journey and ensuring inclusion and accessibility. It allows us to really shift our mindset and know that we can take accountability at any time, whether small or big steps, but just taking the first step is key when we want to change something. So I think this is a great quote that I always reference back when I think, oh, well, I'm just one person. No, I think bigger than that. It's one person does have the capability to enact change. And so you have started that by taking the steps through taking the session and then going back and little by little ensuring inclusion and accessibility in your social media. So you're taking different steps. I wanted to follow up, and if you want to continue your learning and you want something more customized, the mentor session would be a great next step to work with the resource key. That starts at $1,000 USD. And currently we are booked until March 31st, 2023 for the resource key mentor session. There is a link on your outline to sign up for a waitlist to be notified of upcoming openings. What's included in the mentor course? It's one live, customized, inclusive, and accessible webinar. And customized, I say, it could be to your industry. It could be to maybe certain trainings or different things that you all have rolling out, and we can align it and customize it so that it is discussing inclusion and accessibility in marketing, let's say related to transportation. So it could be a number of different ways that we can customize it, but it is going to be live instead of pre-recorded. And it will be with one of the session leads from the resource key. You would also receive a customized handout with different resources and reference keys that are customized for your industry or the specific topic that we choose. Then you would also receive 30-minute office hours with your session lead. So that could be a follow-up thereafter the live customized webinar. And a lot of times people use the 30-minute office hours session to ask specific questions that may not have been answered in a webinar, or things that are specific to their industry or projects that they're working on. So it's a great opportunity as an extension. Who is this mentor course or session for? The mentor session could be for businesses, smaller, larger businesses, their marketing teams, HR teams, anyone who may use social media or they may be doing some type of marketing. Also individuals, so business owners, if you want to know more ideas customized to your business surrounding inclusion and accessibility, this is a great way to do that. Digital creators, influencers. So that's another way to follow up with us if you want to continue your journey. And on this next slide, it's our contact information. We would love for you all to keep in touch. Email address, info@theresourcekey.com. Follow us on social media. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter @theresourcekey. And then you can also engage with us on our social media hashtags, the resource key, inclusive impact branding, inclusive and accessible social media. We have a few other ones. I will also say you feel free to follow the demo Instagram account that we've used throughout our session, inclusive impact branding. And I am on LinkedIn a lot, so you can connect with me, Jordan Saunders, or follow me on LinkedIn. And I always will post about inclusion and accessibility, typically, are all of the posts that I post on LinkedIn, and I'm the most active. So I want to thank you for taking the time to go through and invest in your ensuring inclusion and accessibility in social media, and just continuing to encourage you to implement and ask questions, and know that it's always more, there's always more to learn, and there's always probably going to be more keys that you'll be adding to your toolbox. Thank you so much. Have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, and we will see you all next time.